Hey y'all, Sidison here. Welcome back to another YouTube video. Nintendo has kinda gotten complacent. Not kinda, Nintendo has gotten complacent. If you've been looking at any news recently, you'll know about the reveal for the new Nintendo Switch 2 and all the hype-ish, mainly controversy. There is a lot of controversy and a lot of things people want to talk about. It's a whole mess, but yeah, y'all know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment. I'd really love all of your feedback on discussion on these kinds of topics, especially on a topic as divisive as this. And yeah, tell me how I can improve these videos. I'm open to all yours, I want to continue improving and making better videos for y'all to enjoy. So yeah, hit me up with ways I could improve content, any video ideas, topics y'all want to cover, or even things I should do. But going back to the topic, it's kind of a mixed bag. For me, I have more negatives than positives, so I'll just quickly go over the positives and things I like about the new Nintendo Switch 2, which starts off with the games. I feel like the whole thing about Nintendo being a terrible company that makes really good games fits really well, because the new games, some of them are okay, some of them I am really hyped for. But let's start off with a new Mario Kart game, Mario Kart World. No, it looks like an interesting game. I'm not really the biggest Mario Kart person, but I enjoy playing Mario Kart with friends, and this new Mario Kart World looks like an interesting game. It's an open world Mario Kart, so I don't know. It could play similar to games like Forza Horizon, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not the biggest Mario Kart person. Like I said, I prefer more realistic games, or more car-oriented racing games, kind of like Gran Turismo and Forza series. Those kinds of games. And I'm not really interested in games like Mario Kart, where Crash Bandicoot Team Racing, where it's more of a family friendly arcade style racer game. You can have fun with it. I personally wouldn't buy it, but I could see myself having fun with Mario Kart World, playing with friends and doing races against each other. It's definitely a more social game, so yeah, it's fun, looks good. But what I'm really excited for is Metroid Prime 4. Oh my god, Metroid Prime. We're finally getting Metroid Prime 4. I have waited far too long for a Metroid Prime game. I am the biggest fan of any Metroid Prime game. I loved the first Metroid Prime. I loved Metroid Prime 2. I want to play Metroid Prime 3. I've mainly been emulating most of these games. I haven't actually had the actual hardware to play them, but yeah, Metroid Prime 4, it was a game that was stuck in development hell. It was supposed to come out for the Wii U, and it got pushed so far back. I think they spent nearly 10 years developing this game, but I am really hyped for it. I don't think I'd buy a Nintendo Switch 2 for it, but I'd consider playing it on Switch. I'd definitely consider playing it on Switch. I am looking really forward to playing, the next installment of Metroid Prime. Speaking of which, the new GoldenEye, not GoldenEye, the new 007 game. I am also kind of excited to see how that game's gonna go. It looks like a successor to GoldenEye. I hope it is. We barely got anything out of it, but yeah, it looks very promising. And kind of apart from that, we got a new From Software game that's coming exclusive to the Switch 2, and mainly just a good bit of ports from other games, like the new Yakuza port that's coming to Switch that was already released for the PlayStation and Xbox, but I don't think I'd be interested in playing it for the Switch 2, but it looks like an interesting game. And apart from the games, I would say another big thing that I'm glad is the hardware. You know, the Switch 2 is finally, I wouldn't say it's next gen hardware, and I'm gonna get into that and with all the pricing and stuff. But we're finally at a usable kind of hardware, you know. As expected, I wasn't expecting them to go next gen level hardware. I wasn't expecting them to, go full 4K, 60 FPS. The Switch was already a 720p, and so I think there's already a jump between the Switch and the Switch 2, but I don't think it's still a generation behind. The Switch 2 is at least a better contender to the Series X and the PS5 compared to the Switch, which is basically running PS3 level of hardware. And so, yeah, it's nice to finally see that Nintendo is finally meeting the bare minimum of gaming performance, you know. I don't think it's going to be outperforming the PS5 or the Series X, and I probably don't think it's going to outperform the Steam Deck, which is probably its biggest competitor right now, along with the other Asus, ROG Allies, and the other portable PCs. But finally, I guess we got a console that is of spec, of, playable. I wouldn't say the Switch isn't playable, because Nintendo is really good at optimizing, games. I say that, but Tears of the Kingdom was not really well optimized, but Nintendo's generally good at optimizing their games to run on the weaker hardware, and I think we're long gone from the GameCube era of Nintendo being of similar performance to the other manufacturers, which is sad. It's sad. Nintendo could have gone their way and made the specs of, the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally, but yeah, we got bare minimum specs, but that's also kind of where the positive ends, There's a lot of things I want to talk about that I don't like, and why I feel like Nintendo has just gotten complacent, and they've kind of just started treating the customers like crap. Actually, they've just been treating customers like crap right now. It's gonna get worse. But let's start off with pricing. This pricing scheme is not okay. It is not okay. And let's start off with the least offensive pricing scheme. The console being $450. That's by far the least offensive out of all of this. It's still too high. It's basically pushing PlayStation 5 levels of pricing, it makes no sense for a console that has the performance of a PlayStation 4. Why they would be pricing it at the price of a PS5, and they're even pricing it above the standard Steam Deck, which again, I feel like the standard Steam Deck is still gonna run, better than this Nintendo Switch 2. So I don't think they should have massive price cuts on it, but I think rolling it back $50, making it like $400 would make more sense, especially in this economy and the fact that we're probably going to go through another recession. I think that's probably what's going to happen. So spending $450 on a new Nintendo console does not sound appealing to a lot of people who are in this current economic situation. But like I said, that is the least concern. But Nintendo is charging the heck out of everything. The whole C button, the whole sharing platform, the fact that the whole sharing button is useless if you don't pay, and if you don't have the Switch Online subscription. And yeah, I'm really offended by the fact that the whole Switch Welcome Tour, or the game that kind of introduces you to all the features of the Switch, is charged $10. That absolutely makes no sense. Like, look at PlayStation. I have a PlayStation Vita, and that came with the Welcome Park, which is free, and it kind of, it's not that much of a, like, content-wise for a game, but it shows everything that's in the game. It shows everything that's in the console. It shows all the features. It shows everything. And I think PlayStation had the same thing for the PS4, and the PS5, I think recently also had Astro Playroom, which is that is honestly a spectacular, like, that is a really spectacular, like, showcase of the PS5 capabilities. I think the PSVR also had something like that, but yeah, the PlayStation 5's Astro's Playworld is a free, like, showcase of the PlayStation 5's capabilities, but has a lot of stuff in it, and I don't understand why Nintendo is charging for, the ability to, like, see what's on the system. And it makes no sense for the fact that even Nintendo's older consoles, I mean, the Wii was bundled with Wii Sports, which in of itself was a legendary game and was a showcase of everything that was possible on the Wii. Like, Wii Sports, that was a great showcase. I think Wii U also had a Nintendo Land, or a showcase that was let people see all the capabilities of the Wii U. I know the 3DS has face raiders, AR cards, and a bunch of things that came in with the system that let people see all the capabilities of the 3D system, of the gyroscopic effects, and of everything. So the fact that Nintendo is charging money for the Switch 2 to have this feature is absolutely absurd. Nintendo should not be charging just like $10 or $15. I don't know how much it is, but they should not be charging this much for, just a showcase of what the console can do, especially when the competitors can do it better and do it for free. And geez, the Nintendo's whole their chat feature, it seems to mimic similar to what you'd find in Discord, except way worse. That's then the whole button, the fact that the whole C button is related to that. So if you don't pay for Nintendo's online subscription, you don't get access. That button just is useless. Or I'm fearing worst case scenario, it just redirects you to the eShop whenever you accidentally press it, and then makes you pay for it. And yeah, the camera, the $50 to $45 Nintendo Switch 2 camera. Oh my god. Yeah. Nintendo pricing is gone. This is not okay. And the worst offender by far has to be the games. $80 games. $80 for Switch 2 games. Mario Kart World is $80, and I think Nintendo's just gonna continue with $80. And if you're unfortunate to live in the EU, €90 for physical games is astonishing. And this is not including any of the tariff costs, because I know the recent tariffs are probably gonna boost both the both the price of the initial console and the price of games. So it is only gonna get worse. $80 game. Okay, it makes absolutely no sense why Nintendo's charging $80 when Sony and Xbox are charging $70 for games of higher quality and higher fidelity. Like, I understand the whole Rockstar with the GTA 6 being $100 probably, but that's a game that is, I feel, a game that is worth $100. That is a blockbuster, hopefully a blockbuster, style of game where it is super immersive, it is super detailed. Now, looking at Red Dead Redemption 2, looking at GTA 5, those games were like technical marvel. Even Red Dead Redemption 2 is still a technical marvel today. It is so advanced. So GTA 6 is worth $100, but Mario Kart World is not worth $100. Mario Kart World is not even worth, I think it should be $60. You know, $60 was always the medium, but I guess we'll have to bite the bullet for $70 for like good games. But I'm not paying more than $80 for physical versions of, you know, these games. And that leads me on to another point, you know, that these physical games are not even physical games. They're just physical like cards that Nintendo lets you put, like, you have to have an internet connection. There's nothing in there. It's just a key. It's just a license key. You know, there's no game in there. And Nintendo's always been kind of starting to get kind of scummy with this, where they sell physical game cartridges, but they have codes in them, and it's like you'll usually see a kind of thing on the top which says like game code inside. So you're basically paying for a physical game, but there's no physical thing inside. This is just kind of an extension of that, where there is literally nothing inside here. This game card will not work if you don't have internet. This game card will not work if Nintendo decides to plug off the servers in like 15 to 20 years for the Switch 2. You're just left with empty like e-waste, empty plastic. That's all that's in there. And that is absurd. That is absurd that you're paying $80 for that. Oh my god. And the only issue is the fact that a lot of people are fine with this. It's gonna make stuff worse, you know. There are so much people who are justifying, you know, being like, yeah, well, there's inflation. I mean, they can't keep games for $60, you know. These games, they get bigger, so there's no way they can always like fit the cartridge in. There is ways, okay? There is dual, like the fact that Red Dead Redemption 2, a game that is nearly 100 gigabytes, the fact that even modern Call of Duties, which are like 200, 300 gigabytes, are able to be put onto a disc, and you can, I mean, they don't contain most of the game inside the disc. You'll have to download it onto the console, but you can still do that offline, you know. You buy that game, you own that forever, you know. And Nintendo's kind of becoming like the next Ubisoft with this stuff, you know, where they're making it so that you don't actually own these games, and it's just so infuriating, especially from a company that I really like. From a company that I used to really like, not anymore. But jeez, what is going on, Nintendo? And they still haven't updated their Switch Online, and I doubt that they're gonna improve that infrastructure for the Switch 2, for the Switch Online. So it's why Nintendo? You know, if they're just gonna have us basically own they're not even gonna have us own the game, you know. You're just buying a physical license, not even buying like a physical like download key, or a physical download that you can run onto a console without internet, you know. Because both the Xbox and PlayStation, their current gen consoles, can do that. This is basically just a key that needs to be authenticated through online in order for you to download the game that's on the disc. And if there's any issues online, if you've been banned off Nintendo's online servers, if anything goes wrong, you cannot play the game that you bought. And that makes absolutely no sense. And I guess the final point they mentioned was the fact that there's GameCube support, which is, I guess, revolutionary if you don't consider the fact that the Dolphin emulator is nearly complete and can pretty much be a better emulation than what Nintendo is probably going to offer. They're probably going to try to shut it down like they always do, you know. But again, I don't even think that it's such a big thing, especially with the fact that the online, it requires you to have Nintendo Switch Online, and you don't own these like it's not like a virtual console that the Wii U had, where you bought it from a shop and then you own forever on the console, you know. once you cancel that subscription, all those games are going away. So I don't know why. I mean, it makes them a lot of money. I do know why. I just don't know why from a consumer standpoint. I know why from a business standpoint, because it makes a lot of money, and Nintendo knows that they can get away with all this stuff because their fan base is really loyal. But yeah, that's my Nintendo rant, along with the thousands of other Nintendo rants. So the state of gaming is just terrible right now. It is. And yeah, I will not be buying the Switch 2, and no, I recommend y'all don't buy the Switch 2 until Nintendo fixes it. Although I do realize that there's still a huge fan base for the Switch 2, and I know the Nintendo has a huge fan base that'll still, feed them their money. So yeah, I will probably be proven wrong on that. I'm just a small guy out here on YouTube. I don't have much control over anything. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hope y'all have a good day, and yeah, see y'all in the next one. Bye.